Question over here in the audience, or comment.
On the national level, I have had courses in schools providing the legal rights of children and youth, the housing, etc. However, one of the concepts it introduces is the fact that Minnesota really does not emancipate youth. And I'm sure social services and many others have encountered families who have decided that they are going to emancipate their troublesome or difficult or unlikable youth. And it would be very good in our community to have access, as they do in the cities, to these legal booklets for youth of what their rights are, what the definitions are, and though we do not have emancipation, there are different statutes that do allow. So we are contradictory. But I think it'd be important first to educate as an intervention, and coming through our public schools with having health as an emphasis, we should also be teaching them their rights.
There's another comment over here.
Yeah. I would ask the panel to bear with me for a moment. It may not sound like you agree with me at first. I don't think the problem is homelessness. This society loves to measure things, and the people in the legislative bodies love to fund things that can be easily measured. We tend to skip and avoid the hard things, the things that Mary was talking about. It seems to me, just think about it for a moment, that the real problem for homeless adult and youth is a lack of social supports, and that comes from either being too involved with alcohol, drugs, or mental illness that those supports aren't available, or being in a situation where those supports are not available. And it seems to me that the definition of homelessness, where you have to pack up and move, is not unlike a Boundary Waters canoe trip in its effect on your life. And the real problem with what we call homelessness is the lack of social supports, of human supports, because we're all human.
Good point. I'm hearing from you that it's more a result as opposed to the problem.
It's easy to measure, so we do.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else from the audience? Yeah.
I was just kind of wondering, you guys are saying early intervention, so I know there's a lot of us nursing students here. What is something that we can do as nursing students to intervene early? How do you identify someone who's homeless if they say they look like everyone else?
Panel, anyone?
There's no situation that's the same. So I would encourage you to, as you develop your sensitivity and your patient demeanor, a way to ask questions in a non-threatening manner, and then listen to how families respond. And each family, each child, each student will give you different information, and from there, it's not your responsibility to identify. It's your responsibility to recognize and then figure out who you need to go to help the family get what they need. And sometimes for me in my role, it's helping the family or the student understand why they'd want to self-identify and what benefits would they'd have access to because of that. Because really it's not pleasant to identify oneself as homeless. But if it's to help children, or if it's to help them to get a service or a benefit to help them in the situation they're in, then they may. But not everyone will give you that either, just because you ask the question or just because you're listening.
Mary.
I'd also like to say that I think if you could forge some relationships with the providers in your community, with the school districts, I think it would be just awesome if you could have a release of information that the family would sign. You could share that information between programs. I think identifying them is tough, but we've been making some headway with the continuum of care and the homeless liaisons in the school districts. Now we're kind of aware of what the homeless work is that's being done. So I think collaboration again is going to be a key to success in that regard.
One more comment from the audience, and then we'll
Can I just
Oh,
say,
I'm
I
sorry.
just wanted to
Okay.
say one other thing for nursing students. There are mentoring programs in this community. Y Mentors is a wonderful program at the Rochester Area Family Y. I happen to be on the Y board, so it's my job to promote it. But the director of the Y Resource Center is here. In fact, she's sitting right behind you. Raise your hand, Bev. if you volunteered with a mentorship program, sometimes it's intimidating to mentor a teenager. Sadly, some people are intimidated by teenagers, but they have a huge waiting list at Y Mentors. It's not necessarily a big investment of time. You can plan one activity a week. I see mentors come into the fitness center at the Y with their mentees, and they work out together. Those mentors might be coming to the fitness center anyway, so it makes it more fun for them, actually, to have a young person with them. So I know you guys are busy as students, but signing up with the mentorship at the Y or some of the other mentoring programs in town, I think would be a really good place for you to start.
Teresa, and then we have a couple audience.
I was just thinking about, like, well, not just as nursing students, but also like everyone, like in the community as well. Like, forging relationships is one of the best way to create community. And in this individualistic society, I mean, community is very much de-emphasized unless something bad happens, like 9/11 or like stuff like that, stuff that's national, stuff that's statewide, or just big things. Then we all just come together and then things get done. But something that's considered small, like homelessness, crime, gang violence, stuff like that, it's kind of pushed away in a way to where, well, that's not my problem, let's not deal with this. Or like you got, like, there's just a separation, like we got the panel here, we got the people up there. I mean, there's just something to where there's just a separation between the community and the government, and you don't work together in a way to promote community, but promote the commercial exchange of individualism, and it doesn't work. It was not going to work if you just, like, in a sense, join the Y Mentors or join a community thing. Why not just do it right in your own backyard? Why not just go right next door, talk to the people next to you? And the word will spread. I mean, the better the relationships you get within a community, the more you'll know. I mean, small communities, yeah, gossip gets out, but everyone knows everything then, and that's when things can get done, is when people know. And I think that's something that Rochester should do more. I mean, to a degree, Rochester does seem like a small community, but at the same time, it's a population of 100,000 and growing. And there's something where we need to kind of become more of a community than an individualistic type of society. And I think that'll fix homelessness and a lot of other problems that we're seeing in society.
Very good.